Okay, so we're back. I used this file. I think it's called a rat tail file, if I'm not mistaken. You can see some of the spiral cuts in there if this thing even wants to focus. And what I did is just basically just kind of just twisted it and just kind of carved the area out. So now this thing fits perfectly. It's flush. It looks good. Once it's blued and I get the screws dialed in, I'll put this in. Ideally with wood, if something is a little too tight, you really want to take the time to give it a little space. Wood is fairly forgiving, but the problem with wood is that if you're not careful, and I've done this in the past, where you sort of like, and this actually happens with actions quite a bit, where you basically you jam the action into a stock. You kind of tap it in, you hit it with a screwdriver, and then you come back and you find that your stock is cracked. Or after you fire 10 rounds out of it, you find that your stock is cracked. The wood's forgiving, but the problem is not that forgiving. So ideally, you want your action to fit nice and even inside of your wood, so that way it's basically it has enough room to wiggle, but yet not enough room to to cause any issues. This one I might end up dremeling just because there's quite a few areas that need some work. I'm using a high-speed cutter on this at low speed. And basically just kind of going in very slow. When you're using your Dremel, you definitely want to stop and check your work frequently, because of the fact that you can easily remove too much material and then you have this wobbly kind of crappy looking thing. You can also sort of assess what you're looking at to begin with. Here it looks pretty good. There's good metal to wood fit. There's maybe a couple of tight areas there. The main problem is that the back of the action is not sitting into the stock itself that well. So that's telling me, and you can see how much this is raised up on this side. So that's telling me that I need to actually remove more. I actually need to remove more into the bottom of the stock itself. In order to make that fit. I do happen to have the old stock or the original stock on it, so I can kind of compare, I can, if you want to take some measurements and whatnot, I can compare how deep this is and whatnot and kind of go from there. Unfortunately, you don't always have that luxury a lot of times, so you kind of have to just kind of make the best of it. If you're looking to make some square cuts like this, I highly recommend a large file and just basically use the edge, because you can go in and you can, make a nice square cut like that, as opposed to with a Dremel, you're kind of limited to your hand motion, and if you're not that steady, like a lot of people are, like myself, you may end up with this kind of cockeyed looking type of thing. So, to something like that, I'm basically just going to go in and just use the file to square it up. If you want to cut faster, you can always kind of go, you can go with your rasp. Rasps are great. They will remove a lot of material quickly, but they're also terrible in that they will remove a lot of material quickly. So you want to use the rasp to rough shape the area, and then you can come in with another file and basically smooth it out. And there's some low spots there that we'll be cleaning up and getting those a little more uniform. But you can already kind of tell, which is quickly, now we took that rounded off edge and we made it a little more square, which means that this should fit a lot better over time. I'm going to probably have to grind this area quite a bit, not quite a bit, but grind this area out a bit. I'm going to have to shape this a bit. These 1898 stocks had the square cutout. This is a repro. This has a rounded cutout. Whatever. It depends on how anal retentive you want to be with it. I do like these things to be as original as possible, or at least an accurate representation of it. Krag stocks are hard to find. Full-length Krag stocks are hard to find, which is why I'm going to show you how to fix this sporterized one. Because you find the sporterized one, you can buy these for like 45 bucks. I won't get too detailed into this, but buy this for like 45 bucks, $10 delivery, and you can, with a little bit of work, like I showed you on that Berthier rifle stock, you can have a full-length accurate rifle stock that's as good as new, and then go from there. So we're going to keep playing around with this action, and then once it's nice and dialed in, we'll show you the final piece. Okay, so stand by. Okay, after an hour of inletting, we're back. You can see kind of the finished product. I went ahead and screwed everything in, so that way it's nice and tight. The way this was cut originally, you know, there's a couple areas that are a little weird, but overall I'm actually really, really happy with it. The wood to metal fit is pretty good. There's no areas that are overly proud. You get a nice flush fit here. I'll clean this up a little bit and I'll touch it up with stain and then top coat. This is kind of why I recommend doing all your inletting first. Like I said, I went backwards. I didn't realize it needed this much inletting, but it is what it is. On the Krags, these fit flush, so you can kind of see. I did find actually a small crack here, what looks like a crack. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to see if I can jam a screwdriver in there. It concerns me to where I may end up having to rebarrel this, meaning I actually have another Krag receiver. But overall, I'm actually really, really happy with how it turned out. I had to remove actually quite a bit of wood, which I was a little surprised, but not really, because you never know. You know how much fitting these things need. I did some measurements with my old one, and that sort of helped a little bit to sort of line things up. But with inletting, it's just basically carve, 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 grind, 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 smooth, 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 and then fit. So that's why it's kind of a slow, tedious process. Pulling the barrel off, or the barreled receiver off, you can kind of see how much I actually ended up removing. I know it looks kind of janky, but actually once I clean it up, you won't even notice it. But you had to get the taper from the front of the forend to the back, and then I inletted this part bit, carved this out, and I tried to keep the contours as original as best as I could. There you go. You know, I didn't use my Dremel as much just because I didn't want to remove that much material. So mainly it was a bunch of flat and round files. I'll go through and restain this area. I got to clean up a couple of these areas. They got a little scratch, but I'm going to actually clean these up a bit with a file. The file gives you a nice flat surface. I'll fix this area up a little bit, and then I'll just reshoot it with top coat and pretty much be good to go. Then I think what I might end up doing, I have a gunsmith friend of mine that is experienced with military, U.S. military rifles, so I'll probably get a set of headspace gauges and have him rebarrel this. This barrel's actually, even though it's shot out, the barrel's really not that bad. With some cast bullets, we'll probably get some good accuracy out of it. My big concern, even though it's at the back of the receiver, is what looks like a crack. And obviously, in a 100-year-old rifle with them, you know, the metal might be a little bit suspect. Better to be safe than sorry. I actually have a better receiver for this. So, you know, just kind of err on the side of caution and just have him rebarrel it for me and just kind of call it a day. So, when I come back, well, actually not in this video, but in the next video coming up, I will do the grinding of the barrel to get all the pits out, the rust blue process, and then the final assembly on everything. And then also another one coming up is this Krag forend restoration. This is how the forend came, so I actually have to get some brass dowels to pound down in there, and then I'm going to cut this piece off, make it flat, and then I'm actually going to fit this piece to there, and we'll end up with a beautiful full-length rifle. I'll show you how to stain it and finish it, and something you can be proud of, and turn that sporterized rifle back into something a bit more historic. All right, thanks for watching.